may recall in the last episode I was having a real bad time with tear out. Well, I find that oak is really bad for that. It looks really nice after it's all sanded and stained and everything, but in the meantime, to get it to that point, it's difficult. And you might also remember that yesterday I was having a problem sliding this piece across the table. Well, it's because the edges here, I hadn't eased that over and got rid of little things like this, and they were catching in the grooves on the router table. Anyway, we'll do better today. Now you may also recall that I had mentioned that the section here will draw the piece up against the cutter, and well, it's not so dramatic you can't pull it away, but what happens is you're actually having it against the cutter harder than you think you are. You think you're pushing it just a little bit, but actually it's being drawn more. So I'm going to demonstrate that now. Now there's places like this, probably 4 or 5 little places. This one's the worst. I got to get rid of those. So what I'm thinking is I'm just going to put the quarter round bit on and just sort of round this over. Now I also could run this thing through the jointer and take it down a little better than 1/8 of an inch, I guess, to hide that. But I would still be left with a sharp edge that I'd have to round over a little bit anyway. And also, why have a 1.5 inch piece of wood if you're going to take it down? I mean, that's kind of dumb. I'm hoping that if I put this stick in behind, it'll help prevent tear out here as it goes through. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And this time it worked. Everything now that needs to be rounded over is rounded over. And I think I'm through with the router. Now you should recall back in one of the earlier videos that I had cut everything about 1/2 inch or so longer than necessary. And that's because I knew I was going to probably rabbet out the base and the top so that the back could fit into it. But now, because the pieces for the back were also cut the same length, of course the back is way too small, and by a little better than 1/4 inch. So now what I have to do is square up the back as little as possible, and then adjust all the vertical pieces, including the spindles, the same as the back. Maybe a 1/16 of an inch or not even longer, because I want the back to fit in nice and easy. And this will allow for any expansion. Now mind you, it's not going to expand this way, but it will expand and contract this way with moisture. Now this is what I mean when I say I want to take off as little as possible. It's probably not even 1/2 a blade width. I want to keep it as long as I can. All these pieces now will be cut just a smidgen longer than the back. And that includes the spindles. Now of course the spindles, they're going to have to be cut just the right amount off each end so that the center of the spindle will be the center of the case. Now this piece here seems to be nice and square, at least on this end. This piece here, it's not square no matter which end I try. So this piece I have to do 2 cuts. This one, I'm just going to leave this end alone. Now you notice I got a little piece of green tape on the back, and the reason I've got it on the back is so that when I push it through the blade, I can make sure that this will be going through last, because this is where the tear out's going to be. I want if there's going to be any tear out, and there'll probably be a little, I want it to be on the back where it's not going to be seen, not on the front. Well, I think you can probably see my dilemma here. I was saying that I'd have to cut those vertical pieces just slightly longer than the back, but what I meant was slightly longer than the back, less the distance that the back is being recessed into the top and the bottom. So I'm just going to score it here. Okay, and I'll go from those lines. Well, here's hoping I can see those lines now. Yep, there it is, right there. Now those two lines are right here and right here. And I know that this end I just squared up, so it's ready to go. Now this good end is up against this line, so if I make a little mark here and cut it right there, it should be just about right. Now, should I find later on that this is still a little bit too long, I can always put it against the edge sander here and take a little bit off. I now know that I've got this in the right place for the cut. So if I carefully pull it back, I have to rig up a stop here. Now my miter gauge fence is too long to allow me to put a stop here because I won't be able to go forward. So I've got to put in a little spacer that can be removed each time. Okay, so now I know that I just bring the piece up to that, remove it, then I'll be able to push the miter gauge forward. At least that's the plan. Well, needless to say, I don't want to accidentally move this and lose my setting here. Now these pieces that I just cut are 358 millimeters long. So 358 divided by 2, halfway is 179 millimeters. Okay, we need 179. There's 175. 179 would be right there. Yeah, that's pretty close. Now, interestingly enough, the center of this turning here may not be equal distance from here to here because of the way the pattern was on the lathe. So I just sort of have to eyeball where center is here. And offhand I'd say it's probably right about here. Probably can't see it, but that little mark is just right there. Here's that mark I made. And you probably noticed that all of these spindles, the shoulder is about the same distance from the end on each one. So if I cut this much off this end, I should have it pretty well right. And then I can just cut the rest of the spindle the same length as those other pieces. Now I better check here and make sure nothing's moved. I don't see why it would, but better safe than sorry. No, that's right on. All the pieces now are the same length. Well, I really hate to have to do this, but I gotta go mow the grass. That rain we had the day before yesterday made it grow like crazy. And I guess in the next video it'll be sanding.